you have got to be comfortable getting to a place that most people just can't comprehend. To run a 2:28, I'm on the limit from like mile 2. And the way you talk to yourself matters. Like your brain sometimes can't tell the difference between what's being said to you and what you're saying to yourself. I was like taking pills every single day for 10 years. If I didn't go through that, I wouldn't know the freedom that I have right now.
Today on the podcast, we spoke to the fastest marathon runner in the world over 50, Ken Rideout. He talks us through his roller coaster of a life, overcoming a long-term addiction to opioids before focusing his life on his training and his health, where he goes on to achieve amazing things in both triathlon and his marathon running journey.
He shares his high-performance mindset, training discipline, and how you can achieve crazy, incredible things in your training, your family, and in everyday life. Let's get into the episode. Ken, thank you for coming on the podcast. How are you?
I'm great. A little bit tired getting off a red eye from New York, but honored to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
No, honestly, we really appreciate you coming, all the way over from the US to chat to us. And we want to dive into all the incredible things you've achieved. But we'll start at the beginning. Take us back to day one, chapter one, if you will, and what got you into running in the first place?
Well, to start at the beginning would probably begin with some childhood trauma, which led to a life of addiction that we can always backtrack if you're interested in getting much deeper into my kind of origin story. But I found myself in my 30s addicted to opioid prescription painkillers, a 10-year odyssey that I would do anything to take back, but I wasted 10 years of my life wallowing in addiction and self-loathing and everything that goes along with addiction. And when I got sober in 2010, at that time in my life, I would go to the gym, run, just like a typical, like an average middle of the road fit guy. I would exercise, but it wasn't a source of pride or I didn't have any real discipline or commitment. And I started running, moved to New York, got married. We're adopting a daughter. And they were like, okay, you have a daughter. You can go and get her in a month. And I said to myself, because I hadn't told my wife the depth of the addiction that I was in, which sounds crazy, but she had only known me on drugs. And I was at the point in my life where I said, I'm either going to get sober or kill myself. And I didn't really want to die. I wanted to be sober and be proud of myself. And I started running. And then had some leg injuries, got a bike, and then was immediately jumped into my new addiction, off drugs, into triathlon. Like with everything in my life, it's to the extreme. So as soon as I did one triathlon, I said, what's the best triathlon? Who's the best? How do you do this? And I looked at Ironman. It took me 2 years and 2 or 3 tries. And then I went to the Ironman in Kona, Hawaii, the World Championships. And interestingly enough, I went there, and on the run, I just quit. It got hard, and just like a dead dog loser, I just gave up, and it changed my life. I was like, I will never feel like this again. I would rather drop dead on the course than ever give in to this urge to take the easy way out, take the shortcut, take the path of least resistance. It was what led to my addiction, not dealing with my problems like an adult, but to like skirt responsibility and hide behind the addiction. And once I quit at the Ironman in Hawaii and shamed myself, and my wife would always say, like, who are you ashamed of from? No one cares about this. You're the only nerd in the world that cares about what your triathlon result is. And I said, that's right. But guess what? My opinion of myself is the only opinion that should matter to me. And it's the only opinion I'm focusing on, because if I don't like me, why would you like me? And that changed my life. And then after we had a 4th child, moved to LA, and I didn't have time to train for triathlon, and I jumped full bore into running. And by running, when I got sober, I started running 10 miles a day. If I didn't ride my bike, I ran 10 miles every day and trained every day, twice a day, like a new addiction. But people have asked me, like, did you trade one addiction for another? I said, don't you think that, they would say, don't you think that that's a new addiction? I said, well, one addiction had me ideating on suicide, and one addiction has me now sitting here with you in London talking about my new book that just came out. Like, my life is what I couldn't have dreamed my life to be then what it is now. This would have seemed too unrealistic.
Wow. And I That's already like an amazing roller coaster, and that's just a snippet into the story. And I cannot wait to dive more into where the running has gone, and to dive into some more of those factors that led you there as well. I think a key point that you kind of brush through, where clearly sport and exercise has been a key pivotal piece, was how you overcame your addiction to drugs.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess the turning point was knowing that you're about to have your first child.
Yeah.
Was that so clear and powerful that it became almost easy to get over the drugs? Like, you'd tried and failed many times, but the way you describe it feels like so clear that someone with your strong personality, as you clearly have, did that make it almost suddenly easy?
Yeah, I think that something that a lot of addicts deal with is this sense of self-loathing, and you start to hate yourself because I promise you, no one who's deep in the throes of addiction is happy with themselves. The only reason you do drugs to the extent that an addict does drugs is to escape from who you are and the way you feel. There's no other reason. Yeah, there's no denying that drugs feel good when you take them the first time, and all the descriptions that you could imagine, right? There has to be something appealing or people wouldn't do it. But what you come to realize is that by masking the real feelings that you're avoiding, you're simply digging the hole deeper that you're in. Like, there is an issue that you're not dealing with. And the longer you mask that issue with drugs, you're in a deep hole. And I always tell people when they reach out and they're going through it, I'm like, hey, you're in a hole, right? Yeah. Stop digging. Like, stop making it worse. The first thing you have to do is cut the crap with the drugs. You have to. There's do's and don'ts. What should I do this? Should I do that? The first thing you should do is deal with the don'ts. Don't do drugs. Like, stop doing the drugs. Don't worry about being a world champion in the marathon until you're sober. So if that means going out and walking in the morning, and don't try to put the cart before the horse. So, but back to your question, in my mind, I wasn't worthy of the effort of getting sober. And I'm embarrassed to say that even my marriage, it was just not quite enough. I would try and then fail. And when I was segueing off of the opioids, they had another drug called Subutex. That's like methadone. If someone is familiar with heroin, it's kind of like a drug that you use to segue off the opioids or the heroin, where it minimizes withdrawals, but you're still heavily addicted to that drug, even as much, if not more so, than the opioids. And takes a very long time to get off. And the terrible part about it is when you take those drugs, Subutex, methadone, you don't get a high, you don't get a euphoric feeling. But when you stop taking it, you get the same withdrawals and illness that you get from stopping hardcore drugs. So it's like you're stuck in this purgatory where there's no upside to taking more. It's just avoiding getting sick. So I had been on that drug for a long time. And to your point, I could not do it. But once I realized that I was bringing children into the world, I was like, I cannot continue to do this. This is bigger than me. And like I said, as hyperbolic as it may sound, in my mind, suicide was a viable option. Yeah. And it scared me because prior to finding drugs, like, I was a happy person. I was successful in athletics. I played 2 sports at university, like on a highly competitive level. I always was like, got along with teachers. Like, I was like a nice kid. And then to find myself in this hole of addiction was mortifying to me. Mm-hmm. It destroyed my sense of self. And I was like really contemplating my future. And I write about it extensively in the book. We could talk about it for hours, but if anyone's interested, there's, I go into great detail about how my wife found me unconscious while I'm trying to withdraw from these drugs. And it was just a week walking through the flames of hell. But I did it, got sober, and while I was in that week of withdrawals, I was running every day, almost as a form of penance, drenched in sweat, freezing cold the next second. I must have looked like death.
And do you think that like the level of willpower it takes to get yourself out of that hole that you're in once you are doing a long-term addict in that way, is that willpower, looking back at it now from a place of having achieved amazing things in your triathlon and in your running that we can come on to, Like, is that the same willpower? Like, is it the willpower, the strength that it takes to go and complete your hardest marathon sessions?
Yes.
The same willpower it took to endure the pain of the feelings of withdrawal.
That's one of the difficulties of trying to convey to people, like if I've helped coach or advise or like people ask my opinion, that's hard because it sounds corny, it sounds cliche. I get it, I know it. But the truth is, discipline is the only thing that will set you free. A person without discipline is slave to their emotions. I don't want to go today. I'm lazy. I'm sad. I'm. All of these things are noise. When you have discipline, you know who you are. You know what has to be done. You handle your business, and guess what? The rest of the day is much more manageable. When you avoid doing the work that you know needs to be done, it doesn't have to be running. It could be anything. It could be a spreadsheet that has to get built. It could be taking your child somewhere that you don't want to go, like going taking my kids to kids parties with the other parents and the kids. I'm like, oh, can I go run a marathon instead? It's not my thing. But with discipline, you know you have to handle your business. And the way I look at running and health and wellness is, and this applies to everyone, whether you like it or not, you're responsible for you. You're responsible for everything that you eat. You're responsible for your daily exercise regimen. And no one is going to come in here and tell you what you have to do. They can suggest it, but at the end of the day, you're like, nah, I'm not running this week. I'm going to have donuts. I'm going to eat whatever I want. I'm going to have a cheat week. For me, one misstep leads to two missteps, and maybe that's a bit extreme, but I know what happened to me. The last time I kind of took a laissez-faire attitude towards my own health and wellness, I was like taking pills every single day for 10 years, like 20 to 40, 50 Percocet pills a day, which anyone who knows those drugs, it's insane. It's like taking 30 Tylenol every single day. Like, you know, you take Tylenol, they tell you, don't take more than 4 in a day. I'm like, I was taking 6 at a time, multiple times a day. And it sounds crazy to know me now, but if I didn't go through that, I wouldn't know the freedom that I have right now and like the life that I've created versus the life that I had. I mean, I was making money, but I was working in finance with people I didn't like, trying to keep up with the Joneses, chasing like this. I don't even know what, because it wasn't like I got the money. I was more happy. And I always tell people, money is, people who've never had money will never accept it. They'll be like, F this guy, he doesn't know what he's talking about. If you think money is going to make you a different person, you're out of your mind. You're taking you with you wherever you go. And I was very, very poor. I grew up very poor. And then I was very wealthy, flying on the Concorde back and forth, London to New York regularly. I lived in a 3-bedroom Muse house in Earl's Court. I had a brand new Porsche, and I was a drug addict. And I was hiding from my emotions with these drugs. So that's why I say, like, I'm telling you from experience, that money didn't change me. And since then, I've had like many ups and downs, but nothing provided the peace of mind and the happiness that I know now, like doing things I love doing and not things that I have to do. I tell people all the time, I have what so many billionaires don't have, and that's enough. Mm-hmm. I have what I need, and I don't do work that I don't want to do. I do work that is pleasing to me, even at the cost of making more money doing something that I'm not necessarily really into. Yeah. And I know it sounds easy when you haven't created that situation for yourself, but I created this. Like, I decided I'm focusing all my energy. And when I tell you I was like down to zero money when I left finance, I was sleepless nights for like 6 months until I figured out the way I was going to live my life and make it work financially for myself. I had 4 children, and I was living in a rental house in the Palisades, and I was like, it's embarrassing to think of how close I got to my own financial demise versus where I had been at different periods in my life. But I was rewarded for like having honesty and integrity and character and believing in myself and building the life I wanted and risking everything and betting on myself.
So when you said you got clean and you had your family and you felt like you had enough, which is what you said billionaires don't have. Yeah. How do you then not think that's me done then? Like, I'm satisfied, because you went on to achieve like crazy things.
Because life isn't about stuff. It's not about status. It's not about being a marathon champion. It's about being, There's a famous longevity study that they did in Harvard. It's like 100 years old, where they monitored people like from all socioeconomic walks of life. You can just start like Google Harvard longevity study, and the only through line to determine what made people feel most fulfilled, from money was not it, your health wasn't even it. It was a sense of community, was the overarching theme that people defined as the key factor to live in a healthy, fulfilled life. And I'm doing the study a great injustice by trying to describe it. But the point is, sense of community and relationships are the only thing that matters. And I'm telling you from experience, like when I've had enough money to do whatever I want, or I've had no money, the one thing that makes me feel fulfilled is when my relationship with my wife is good, and it hasn't always been. It takes work, just like anything. You get married to your best friend, you're like going here on the weekends, you're sleeping in, you're doing this, doing that. Now you're married and you have children, you're running a deadly serious business together, and it's 24/7, and those kids aren't going to take a bite of food, use the bathroom or anything without you for at least 5 years. You think about that, like that changes the dynamic of a relationship, where now you really understand, like, would I die for this person? And if it's like winning. If you're not willing to die to win, it's very hard to like be competitive at the highest levels. And it's the same thing with marriage. So even through all the things that I have achieved, which I never reflect back and think like, look at everything I did. I think that that's a huge trap that you can get sucked into. It's important to find satisfaction, but when I start to feel satisfied with who I am and what I've done, everything else starts to suffer, because marriage takes work, just like my training. And same thing with the children. It's like if I'm not in a good headspace and the kids leave something on the table, I'm, who the F left these damn cereals out? I've asked you every day to stop doing it. And then I'm like, he's 5. Like, why would he remember to put the cereal away? But it sounds crazy. But so to your point, life is not, there's no finish line, which is why I stress, and a lot of people stress, like, you have to enjoy the process of getting fit. You have to enjoy the struggle, because that's what life is. I can promise you, I've won some huge races. I've never crossed the finish line and been like, yes, I'm a different person. I'm going to go home and be so happy. Most of the time I feel like, whew, what a relief. I can't believe I did it. Yes, great. What's next?
Well, I think mindset is something that comes through all of that. And something that you said earlier, which has stuck with me, is when you were looking at triathlon, when you went to Kona, you were saying that you were putting all this pressure on yourself, and your wife said to you that, why does it matter?
Yeah.
You're the only nerd who cares about this.
Yeah.
Which is true. Like, in reality, my performance at my triathlons or running literally doesn't matter to anyone but me. Yep. But it also matters so much.
Yes.
And to some extent the same for Anya, although you've got more Strava followers. But I think that the point is true across like all of us. But it's really interesting that despite that, and despite you probably coming to terms with that, recognizing that, you were still able to then take your running to become the fastest over 50s marathon runner in the world. Is that right?
Yes.
Which is incredible, because you've kind of recognized that your running doesn't matter to anyone else. Yeah. All that matters is that you are healthy, you're happy, you prioritize what means a lot to you. And you're not doing it for being the best.
Right.
But by then recognizing what's important to you, this really harsh critic of yourself, you then accidentally become the very best in the world.
Yeah.
Which is hilarious and amazing. And also I think a big through line. We've had a number of Olympic gold medalists sit in the chair.
Yeah.
And I think the through line with the most successful athletes that we've spoken to is that the best don't care what other people think. They don't talk about their rivals. They are only obsessed with getting a bit better. And that is that mindset that you seem to have.
Yeah.
And is that, during the mindset, what led you and has led you to running a 2:29 marathon in your 50s?
2:28.
2:28. In your 50s and being the best?
Yeah.
Is it the mindset, or is it that you think in retrospect that you were born gifted, that you're strong?
No.
What is it?
Anyone who thinks that I am lucky or gifted, I'm like, it's interesting, because the more effort I put in and the harder I work, the luckier I seem to get. I mean, listen, I've been athletic my whole life. I was a decent runner. I did a marathon the first time in like 1998 when I was like in my late 20s in 3 hours and 20 minutes. And I trained, like I didn't know anything. I had cotton shorts on, like from the gym. Like I really didn't know much, but that was like a really good effort. But I mean, I couldn't walk for 2 weeks. I was like, knew nothing. I was chafed everywhere. And then I did another one like a year or two later and did it in 3:30. So it wasn't like, I mean, that was, I acknowledge, I'm not trying to, please, I hope that people listening, like, this isn't a reflection of like, oh, well, what's he saying? If I ran a 4-hour marathon, like I said earlier, I don't care about your time. You don't care about my time. I'm just trying to paint context of where I was as an athlete. Then when I was doing triathlon, I became obsessed with trying to run a marathon under 3 hours. And I ran New York in 3 hours and 30 seconds. And at some point I had to stop and pee, which as I got more competitive, I got to the point where I was like in Tokyo 2 years ago, I was like, gotta pee, just like triathlon. I'm like, I couldn't care less. It's so crowded in Tokyo. I'm like, I'm just peeing my pants. And as I run through the water station, I just grab water, pour it on myself. Like all of those things, that's comes with experience, but that's also mindset shift where you're like, yeah, I don't care about anyone else. Like I'm handling business. Like, there's certain things I'd stop. I wouldn't keep running through certain things, believe me. And some guys who I've seen who haven't stopped, I'm like, that's a savage. Like, that's crazy. I wouldn't do that, but I respect them. But yeah, I think that you have to a certain extent, have a mindset shift where, as you guys know, like you can go and run races and have fun, and that's great, and you can be a participant. But if you want to be a competitor, at least for me, you have got to be comfortable getting to a place that most people just can't comprehend the suffering that it takes. I mean, to run a 2:28, 2:29 marathon, like I'm on the limit from like mile 2. Like it's not like obviously I'm not like hyperventilating at mile 2 or I'm not going to finish, but like every step of the way, I'm like, this is about as fast as I think I can go and still make it to the finish line, but not a second slower. There isn't a conservative heartbeat in that whole marathon. So it's like on the limit. And if you do it right, the last 10K are uncomfortable, but they're not like I'm on death's door. Like in Berlin in 21 or 22, I was trying to win all the world marathon majors, the over 50 category. And I had won New York. I came in second in London by less than a minute. But then I went to Berlin and I was in great shape. And I was like, I'm going to smash this. I'm going to run 2:27. And the race, that race was incredible because I I was lucky enough because of some of the finish times, I was able to get into like pro/elite field where it's, in the pro field, but there's like
sub-elite.
Sub-elite. Yeah. So, but in Berlin, it was like, I was in the pro field. I didn't have a pro number, but I was in the pro tent. I had VIP everything, which sounds much more glamorous than it is. It's just a tent on dirt. And I go in, but it was literally like Japanese athletes, Chinese, American athletes, and the Kenyans. And the funny thing is I walk in, I didn't by myself. I don't know anyone. I know of them. And some of the American guys like, hey, Ken Rideout. And I was like, someone knows me here? Like, I always tell this story, like in years past, if I were running, I would scramble down to the start line so I could watch the pros warm up in the corral in the start area in front of the Brandenburg Gate where the pros are running back and forth, where they have the luxury of like, doing sprints versus standing still for 30 minutes. And so as I come in, the Americans, hey, what's up, Ken? I'm like, oh, what's up? And it's crowded. And the only seat available is next to Eliud Kipchoge, literally in the Kenyans. And people were like kind of giving him space because this is when he's at the peak of his like dominance. So I'm like, hey, what's up, brother? Do you mind if I sit here? He's like, no, come on over. Shakes my hand. I'm sitting there getting ready. I'm like, to me, it was like, getting ready for, I don't know, in soccer terms, like getting ready next to who's the big star for England.
Oh.
Who's the best football player?
Harry Kane.
Yeah.
So I'm sitting next to Harry Kane, like getting ready for a game. And I'm like, I can't believe this. Is security going to throw me out of here? So then they walk us out. We're warming up. And I'm like, there's other people watching me and the pros warming up. And I'm like, I can't believe this. Start of the race, there's a picture of Eliud Kipchoge on the start line. And like 2 or 3 people behind me, you just see my like big white face in the sea of Africans. And race takes off. Pros obviously take off. First group of pros women get off in front, and then there's a second group of pro women. Like they're running like a metronome. 5:30 per mile. I don't know what it comes down to in kilometers, but like it's probably like a 2:25, 2:26 marathon pace. And I'm right on them. And I'm like, wow, they are like, every mile is within 1 or 2 seconds. And I'm like, I feel great, but it's humid and it's faster than I've ever run by like 10 seconds per mile, which again, I don't know. I should have done the kilometers calculation, but I get to like 17 miles. What's that? Like probably 15K to go. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm not going to finish. I'm seeing stars. I'm like, my vision's blurred. And I never worked harder in my life to get to the finish line. I finished in 2:35. And like I said, I was on probably closer to 2:26 pace with 15K to go. And I end up finishing second in the age group, but I crossed the finish line and just remember like collapsing to the ground, like completely uncontrolled. And that's one where I called my wife and I was like basically in tears. And she's like, what the hell is wrong with you? Like, and I'm like, I'm mortified. I was in such good shape. I made such a stupid mistake. And she's like, what do you care? I'm like, it takes so much effort to get to the point where I was at. Like going back and going through the whole process to get to that point again, it just takes so much effort. And then 2 weeks later, I ran Chicago in 2:29, which highlights the fact that I was in great shape and just made stupid mistakes. But that's why we all do this. It's like a huge gamble. Like, should I go all in on this hand? It's only the second hand of the poker tournament. And when you do, you lose.
That's the game, though, isn't it?
Yes.
You know, like every time you stand on the start line, if you want to risk getting a great outcome, you can't play and roll the dice that guarantees it. You have to roll the dice knowing there's a chance that you're going to go too hard, and that you will have a bad race. But
if you need to run fast, you got to start fast.
Well, yeah, and the experience in us will learn where that line is. And if it's your first marathon, you don't want to roll those dice in a dangerous way. First one, get around it, build up, and have a really good experience, and build that love of the game that you want to keep playing. And as you get onto your 20th or your 40th marathon, you start to know where that line is, and that's when it is also so marginal as to whether you will do a time that you're proud of or not. And you've got to take more risks. And I think that's the case for Anya, who's running similar times to you now, that like every time you get into that brilliant shape, it's, a risk. And we have to be comfortable with that risk.
You spend so much time getting to that point that when you make a mistake, you're like, what an idiot. I got to now recover from this. And especially when you go so deep that you barely finish. But I will tell anyone listening, if you want to run a fast marathon for you, relatively speaking, all you have to do is look at what all the world records were, look at all the winners of all the major marathons, almost to a person. They're either negative splits or even splits. It just doesn't, very rarely, if ever happens, that someone ran super fast, built some cushion, and then survived the second half. When I ran in Chicago 2:29 after that Berlin disaster, I literally was within like 30 seconds of first and second half. It was literally like 114 and change on both. Same in Tokyo was the only time I ran negative splits, and I ran 2:29 in Tokyo. And one of the last K of Tokyo at the time, I had the KOM on Strava. And most of the pros at that point in like 22 or 23 had Strava. I ran through the last K, and I mean, for the second half of Tokyo and that year, whatever year I did it, no one passed me for the second half of the marathon. All I did was pass people. I executed the most perfect race plan for me. And finishing in a dead sprint was the best feeling ever. There's nothing like racing the last 10K of a marathon versus surviving.
But I think that goes back to this, the final, the marathon is the victory lap. And if you can nail the victory lap and do it perfectly with that ever so slight negative split, and you're sprinting down the finish line with nothing left, but you've given it all, that's the cherry on the cake of this brilliant training block, which is not something that you're going to get every time.
No.
And because you don't get it every time, when you do get it, it feels so great.
It's great.
And going deeper into mindset specifically, there's mindset which is being able to fight in that workout, in that Berlin Marathon, when you've gone out too hard and you've got to fight to not give up. But 99% of mindset is turning up the other 364 days of the year. What does that mean to you? How do you be consistent year on year to be able to progress to the level you are? Like, what is the key to you and your success? Is it consistency? Is it doing ice baths at 5 a.m. Like, what is it for you that is that mindset the other 364 days of the year?
100% consistency. Nothing else matters. It's not about individual workouts. It's not about types of training strategy and protocols. It's consistency. I, without knowing anything about running, without ever having a coach, got myself to a 2:33 marathon. I ran 10 miles every day for 2 years, let's say. And then when I had a marathon coming up, I would, for 10 weeks before that marathon, 10 or 12, I would do 18 to 22 mile run once a week. And I would treat it as a progression run, meaning I would start at whatever your pace is, like comfortably uncomfortable. And I would finish at marathon pace. And every race that I've ever won and lost, every single one of them, all the magic happened in training, in the dark, in the rain, in solitude. No one's motivating you. And again, that's why it's not motivation. It's not enthusiasm. It's nothing but discipline. Discipline tells you you don't have a choice. It's raining. Guess what? It might rain on race day. And I hated every second of it. And most days I hate getting up and running. It's never easy. I just get faster. But the mindset never changes, regardless of the pace. But I really do tell myself when it's really raining, I don't know if you guys follow me on Strava or Instagram, but about a month or 2 months ago, if people go back on my Instagram and look, I went out, I had a 15-mile run, and it was snowing / raining in Nashville, Tennessee. But it was like below freezing, like 15 Fahrenheit. I don't know what that is in Celsius, but well below freezing, like well below. So, but it was raining on and off. So when the rain would fall, it would instantly freeze and it actually knocked down a bunch of trees. Like it crippled the city. But I had to do this run, and it was like the snow and rain was kind of light. There was snow on the ground when I started. But I was like, F this, because this is going to get much worse, and it's going to be like 10 degrees Fahrenheit tomorrow. So it means everything's going to freeze. And you, like, there's a point where you really can't run outside. So I was like, I have to get this in. So I did it. And when I finished, like, I thought I had frostbite on my hands. I couldn't feel them. But I took out my phone, and I had a beard. And I just made a video. I couldn't see myself, obviously. I'm outside. But I made a video being like, all right, 15 miles down. And my beard is like covered in ice, like a crazy person. And when I posted on Instagram, people were like, this guy's insane. But when there's days like that, I tell myself, no one is this stupid or crazy to do this. This is where I'm going to like win, not just in racing, but at life, because I made a commitment to myself. No one cares. I know that. As a matter of fact, probably just as many people that appreciate it are probably like, he's an idiot, but I don't care. I'm like, I stopped worrying about what other people think a long time ago when I got sober. Is like, we all only get one crack at this. Worrying about what other people think of you is insanity.
I love that. And I think that is exactly right. Knowing that in that moment, you've done the thing that other people wouldn't have done, which is do that long run, despite you have now a iceberg on your chin. Knowing that you've done that means that you are the winner, and that fuels the next day. And that's the same mindset that anyone who's achieving at a high level is applying, and that's you, and you're running the wrong way around Battersea Park on repeat over and over again, knowing that there aren't other women pushing themselves in the same way, which is why you end up being right at the front in that way. And the same is me on a Wednesday morning for the last 5 years. I get up at 4:30, I do a club ride at 5:15, and then I get on to work and do my job. But by doing that hard thing that very few other people would do every week, it means that the next thing, which is doing my normal job, feels easy. And I think doing the really hard thing every week means that the normal thing, doing the normal activities, like you said, doing the things for your kids, doing your regular life, are all easy things that, because you've done that really hard thing, relatively, you kind of cruise on through it.
The thing people have to remember is they could be hearing me say this stuff like, I tell myself this, I tell myself that, and be like, he's crazy, who cares? Fair. But your opinion of yourself is the only one that matters. And the way you talk to yourself matters. Like your brain sometimes can't tell the difference between what's being said to you and what you're saying to yourself. And we talk to ourselves a lot of the times in ways we would never talk to a friend or a stranger. So you can poo-poo this, but I'm telling you, the things that I've done have worked. And what I tell myself is, again, no one else has to believe this, but I tell myself, this is very important. Go out and do this and be proud of yourself. And when you condition your brain to think this is important, like If my wife, my wife would never suggest, don't run, let's go do something else. She would be like, we're going skiing at 8 a.m. Anytime we could take them like to Aspen or any place really nice. It's important. It's extremely expensive. Like, they don't want to miss 1 second of anything because dad has to run. Like, I'm 54 years old. Like, no one cares about dad's stupid thing. I'm not running for money necessarily. I mean, now it's kind of become a bit of a job. But point is, I try not to inconvenience them. So when I'm in Aspen, I'm up at 4 o'clock running up and down the mountain in the dark past the friggin' snowplows that I'm like, one of these snowplows is going to run me over. I know it. But I'm like, I've got to get this done.
The thing that you said, which is like being crazy, you know, like other people might think it's crazy, but inherently other people or the average of society, what you do is crazy. What you do, the consistency you apply, the amount of miles you run is very abnormal, which is what crazy means. But you get abnormal results. You are a 54-year-old man who can run the fastest of anyone in the world for your age, which is abnormal or crazy. Well, so it's important that we exist in an abnormal way if we want abnormal results. And if we want to do, if the answer is to someone who reviews themselves or reviews you, which is that you are normal, you should then assume that you will have normal or average outcomes, which I would imagine that very few people probably look at like society as a whole and think, I want to end up exactly bang in the middle. And if you do, then you're probably that's fine. And so long as that makes you happy, that's great.
I think some people want mediocrity. They want to slip through the cracks. They don't want attention on them. They just want to get through the day. They don't want to, like, maybe they've picked the wrong career. They've settled for a paycheck as a form of like safety. Oh, I have benefits. I have health insurance. Like I've just, that's never resonated with me. And name a successful person in the world that isn't crazy. Do you think Elon Musk is a normal person?
But that's the definition. A successful person is someone who is an outlier. Someone who ends in that top 1% abnormal. They are abnormal or they are crazy. So the answer is, you are crazy. You are like, yes, and I am bloody proud of it. You know, like Anya is crazy. I am quite crazy. And that's a great thing. That's a huge compliment.
I'll give you an example. If you told me you were going to start a running app that was going to be purchased by Strava and people were going to actually use it, I would say, you're crazy. No one's going to do that. I'm not going to use it. No one's going to use it. And the next thing you know,
then I would say, thank you. I am crazy. I will make it happen.
If I told you 20 years ago that Uber was going to come here and put taxis out of business, or that Uber was going to go into New York City and push the taxi lobby out of the way and basically replace 1 million taxi drivers and medallions are going to go to zero, I'd be like, do you know how lobbies work? Do you know how much money those guys pay politicians to keep that entrenched there? And they did it. And that's one where I would I would never invest in this. They're never going to be able to fight that political battle. And like I said earlier, everyone who's done anything impressive is crazy. Remember that whatever you think about yourself is true. If you think you're a weirdo and you suck, and because I've done all these things, then it's true. Yeah, you probably do suck. But the minute you convince yourself that you're a champion and you're worthy of the accolades that you desire and you're worthy of the effort that it takes to be special in any capacity, we're talking about running, but I'm talking, if you want to be the best saxophone player or you want to be the best writer or coder or AI engineer, there's are people that are going to do that. I was telling my children, because there's so much emphasis now on how expensive university is and do you really even need to go, which I don't think you do, but society still has that stigma. If you don't go to uni, you're like, well, what did you do? But I tell them this. Every year there are guys that start as, let's say, a tradesman, let's say electrician. And there are electricians that are going to work for an electrical company. They're going to make their, whatever the salary is, $100,000, whatever it is. But there's also going to be a couple of guys that start the biggest electrical company in the country. And they're going to be bazillionaires because they believe they're the best electrician. Same with the musician. You're going to get a guy playing his guitar on the street and hoping to make $100. And then you're going to get my friend Jelly Roll in the U.S. who lived across the street from me when I met him. Do you know Jelly Roll is country singer? He won a Grammy, best artist. He's a huge country star, mega star. And when I met him, he couldn't get arrested. He had been a singer for 30 years, rapper, rock and roll. And then he found country and all of a sudden he was won the Grammy for best album of the year. Last year he won best newcomer, and now he's on tour with Post Malone. But the point is, it doesn't matter what your profession is. You have a running app. How many running apps are out there that suck that you're like, dude, who would even think to you? Who would spend money on this? And then there's one that's like, when we were coming here, I'm like, Runna, it's doing pretty good, huh? And I was like, it's like Strava. And she's like, Strava bought it. And then I've been a banker for 25 years, so I pay attention to stuff. And I'm like, oh my God, I completely forgot. That's right. Strava bought Runna. That's like what you hope when you build an app, that you either get to the point where you can acquire others or someone will acquire you. Like, you did it. It's like winning a race. Like, do you feel different? Do you feel like you came to work the next day and you're like, guys, look at me, I'm special? You probably felt the same way you felt, like, okay, I feel validated, I feel relieved, but I still got work to do.
Well, I think, no, for sure. And I think selling Runna was the greatest success, winning the gold medal of entrepreneurship. But the thing that took us to get there was 5 years of turning up every day and doing your best. And now what do I do every day? I turn up and do my best. There's still a lot more to do. And
thing as winning a marathon.
But the thing that you said, which is completely true, is what you think of yourself is true. Mm-hmm. Because, Joan, you were an example of this. When you thought of yourself as someone who takes drugs every day and were a loser, you took drugs every day and you were a loser. And then you changed that. You were a disciplined, hardworking man, and now you have incredible results to show for that.
Yep.
And it's also not rocket science. We are a product of our environment. When Anya runs more than everyone else around her, she's better than all the runners around her. Like, it's simple. And I think it's so easy for us to kind of like try and find the secret key to success or to be motivated, and it's just put the reps in.
Yeah.
Which is just a brilliant learning for anyone to know that it is simple. It is just put the reps in for a long time and you'll be better than everyone else. And I always say it, that I'm the fittest and the strongest runner in my friendship group because I've ran longer and harder than all of them. In reality, the last 5 years, I've actually spent more of my reps on the business and let my running get a bit backwards. And some of my friends are starting to challenge me. Now I have a little bit more time and I put the reps back in and they're never going to catch me. But like, it's that simple. And I think like, it's easy to believe people are talented. And if you believe that, all you're doing is giving yourself an excuse. If you believe like you do, which is that you are not talented, the only reason why you are great now is because you have done a lot of hard shit, and you will be great in the future if you keep doing that hard shit. I'm the same. I don't think I have any talent at all. I was also the kind of slow, useless kid at school, and then I did the work and I got goodish. And I will be much better in 5 years than I am today because I'm going to do a lot of hard shit. And that's it,
Yeah. Well, listen, like we said, whatever you think of yourself is true. So now I think of myself as, I am a good runner, but it's also like partly my job. So it's not like a part-time gig where people are like, hey, can I run with you? If it fits, yes. But it's also like, you wouldn't ask, like, again, it doesn't matter what anyone else thinks about me. You wouldn't ask Beethoven if you can go like bang around on the keyboard with it. And I don't have to compare myself to Beethoven, but I do think of myself as, my running is just as important to me as his music was to him. And if it wasn't, I wouldn't have the results. For me to get the results I've had requires all of my energy and focus. And I have to treat it the same way any master would treat their craft. Yeah. And it doesn't matter that you don't think that my mastery is as masterful as this guy. I don't care. I only care about what I think. And what I think is, this is my deadly serious job. I can have fun. Like I told people on the way over here at the airport, I made a post on Instagram. I said, hey, UK friends, if you buy my book and leave a review, a verified purchaser review, and send a snapshot of it, come run with me Thursday morning. I'll DM me the picture and I'll tell you where I'm going to be in Hyde Park and we'll run. And people did it. And I was like, okay, I know on this day I'm committed to running with people. So when I invite someone to run with me, I don't go out and start running like, a 30-minute 10K pace. I'm like, I run to the slowest person in the group because I've invited them. If you say, Ken, can I come run with you? I say, yeah, here's what I'm doing. If you can do this, then you can run with me. But I'm not accommodating someone as a favor for my work. You wouldn't say, oh, I'm going to work part-time at Runna today because you want to shadow me. I'm like, no, these are all the meetings. This is where I'll be. You want to shadow me? This is what I'm doing. I'm not slowing down for your benefit, because then my stuff isn't as important as it's supposed to be.
So your book is called Everything You Want Is on the Other Side of Hard.
Shameless plug.
To me, that means that suffering is like entirely necessary for growth. Is that what that means to you?
I would ask you this, was it Was it hard to start Runna and sell it to Strava? Did you work hard to do that?
You worked very hard.
It was very hard to win a marathon. It was very hard to be competitive in a marathon. I can tell you, being in a healthy, successful marriage is very hard. Takes moments of very hard work. Being a good dad, very hard. I would like to be lazy a lot of the times and not go out and throw the American football to my children when they're like, Dad, let's run routes. But they're 10, 12, and 14, and they love me. And they like the fact that someone cares so deeply about me and like idolizes me and loves me, and they're proud of me, and they want their friends to come over and get a book. Like, that's a responsibility where I can't let anyone down. But at the same time, I'm like, oh, everyone just leave me alone. I just want to lock myself in the bedroom and be alone for a little while. So the point of the book is like everything that you want that's significant is hard. It's hard to get sober. It's also hard to be a drug addict. I was never happy. I was miserable. And I would have moments of euphoria, but it was all bullshit. It wasn't real happiness. So that's the point of the book, is like the things that you really want are going to be hard. And if you expect yourself to skate through life and never experience hardship, that's not a very fulfilling life. We've been talking about it here. Like the things that we like the most, that we appreciate the most, require hard work and suffering. You don't get to finish a marathon in a time you're proud of because you like went out and half-assed it, because then you would just be a participant. And listen, there's nothing wrong with participating, and it's fun, and if it's social, cool. Everyone's on their own journey. But for people like us, from the little time that we've been talking, and I know you guys, participating isn't fun to you. Being competitive, even with yourself, is where the fun is and where the magic happens. And so that's the point of the book. It's like, let's not beat around the bush. It's like I was saying when people ask me about getting sober, it's like, this ain't going to be easy. You've dug yourself into a terrible hole. You will not get out of this easily. And if someone's trying to sugarcoat that for you, they're doing you a huge disservice. When you're in that kind of addiction, that you're physically addicted, you are going through a couple of weeks of hell on earth. There's no way around it. And I put it off for 10 years because I knew how hard it was. And when I eventually sucked it up and did it, I almost died, but I did it. And same thing with like running across the Gobi Desert. Did not want to do it. Didn't want to be there. I didn't want to be there on the last day. And I was winning and knew it was just a victory lap. And I was like, I just can't wait to get home. But I did it. And 80% of life is just showing up.
Mm-hmm.
But not a lot of people want to show up, because when you show up, you can lose. And losing sucks and it's embarrassing. But that's where you learn who you really are. You don't learn anything when you win. When you win, you're just like, oh shit, it all worked. Great. When you lose, like in Berlin, I'm like, oh my God, look at all the stupid things I did. I don't know that I would have gotten to the point where I am today if I didn't have all those losses and setbacks, including the most mortifying of them all, which is quitting in Hawaii after spending 2 years trying to get there.
Well, I think it is also that introspective, hard view that you put on yourself, which is also what leads to greatness, which is the fact that you ran a 2:35 marathon in your 50s and said you lost, which I think is like exactly that level that you hold yourself to, which is what leads to the greatness.
Yeah.
But we're going to segue over to Steph for our coaching tip of the week.
Hey, today's tip is about running to effort. Your body actually doesn't know about pace. It knows the effort you're putting in. On tough terrain or in bad weather, use perceived effort to guide your training. Learning to tune in to your effort makes you a much smarter runner.
Hey guys, this episode is brought to you by the Runner app, the #1 rated running coaching service worldwide. If you want to try the app today, use code podcast25 for 2 weeks totally for free. And please do remember to rate, follow, and subscribe to us on your listening platform to help us climb the rankings and so that we can keep bringing you the most interesting and amazing guests.
Thanks for that, Steph. I'm going to bring us back with some silly this or that's for you, Ken. So first one, would you rather your children grow up naturally talented or incredibly disciplined?
Disciplined without beyond any shadow of a doubt. Naturally talented people can easily not work hard and get out hustled by people that are willing to die to win.
Mm-hmm.
It's very hard to beat a guy who's willing to die to win. And I know that sounds hyperbolic and crazy to a lot of people, but I don't care. Like, that mindset is what's gotten me to the point where we're here talking. Without that mindset, I'm just like some guy in the running group who no one cares, like Mr. Mediocrity. And I lived that mediocre life for a long time. And I know that when I started dedicating myself and being willing to like go to the ends of the suffering to get the most out of myself, it changed my life. So when I talk to my children, and I've got 4 kids, 15, 14, 12, and 10, and it's hard for them to be my kids because they know I'm crazy. But I do not try to put that expectation on them. But the expectation I do put on them is every single person watching this game knows which kid out there is trying the hardest. We can all see him, and he's usually not the best, but everyone knows the kid who is just so into it and wants to win. That's what I want. I want everyone trying their best because that's free, and it's like very admirable.
Love that. Okay. Next one. So you're a very successful businessman and very successful athlete, and it's very hard to do them all. Would you rather wake up at 4 a.m., 5 a.m., run a 20-mile long run, progressive, really hard and tough, and then do 12-hour shift at work? Or do a 12-hour shift at work and then clock off and do your 20 miles?
Always run first. I always handle the things that are most important to me, which again sounds crazy, but my health and wellness, mental and physical, is much more important to me than money or job. It's more important to me than my marriage, because if I'm not healthy, what does that say about my marriage? Like, what does that reflect to my children? And my wife knows that. And it's like, it's not as cut and dry, obviously. It's like, I got to work out before I do anything related to our marriage, but I have to take care of myself. And at the same token, she has to take care of herself. And my wife, if you don't know, was recently diagnosed with breast cancer and is just finished her treatment, is cancer-free. She had a mastectomy, and she's going to get like a reconstructive surgery in April. But when you go through something like that, you realize that a rich man has a million problems and a sick man has one. When my wife was diagnosed with cancer, I would have given away everything that I've ever had, everything I will ever have in my life. I would have rather had terminal cancer than to see my wife go through even curable cancer in that moment. It's scary beyond words. I have 4 children. My wife is like the rock of our house. She's a stay-at-home mom. She cares for all of us. I'm like the biggest kid in the house. She's the caretaker of us all. Like it rocked us. And it's hard for me not even to get emotional talking about it now, because like, you know, we have a normal marriage. Like we have ups and downs. Like there's times I want to throw her out a window, you know, and she probably wants to kill me. But we've been married for almost 20 years, and it's just like we're family. You know, it's like we're in this. We say to each other, like, we're stuck with each other. We got to fix this because there's no other option. And so going through that, sorry for getting long-winded. Going through that, I could tell you right now that your health and wellness is your number one priority. So always handle what's most important first. That's my mentality on those things.
I love that.
Yeah, I'm really sorry to hear that. But
oh, she's all right. I told her, listen, you're a 52-year-old cancer survivor. You're going to get some plastic surgery that she had never planned on getting. I go, you're going to get all upgraded. It's going to be great. It's going to be a great comeback story of silver linings everywhere.
That's the mindset again coming into play. The last one. Would you rather run 20 miles in that weather you were talking about earlier, where your whole beard froze, that kind of storm, every day for a week in that weather, or no running or workouts for an entire week? I
would rather run through the depths of hell, the friggin' on the moon, Antarctica naked, than not run.
I think we could have predicted those answers.
Yeah, I think given the entirety of the prior conversation, those 3 questions seemed arbitrary.
Yeah.
The one thing that I would add, just about to come back to my wife for a second and tie it into what we talked about earlier with mindset, for the first like several days to a week when she got this diagnosis, it was traumatic. It was the most traumatic thing that has happened to us as a family. And you know, the kids are there. We're not telling them initially, and in the first day or two, I just would like burst into tears. And if you can't tell, like, I'm not a big crier. And my daughter is like, Mom, what the hell is going on with Dad? He's crying, like really crying. So then we had to tell them. And what I said to her at some point, I was like, dude, we have been sitting here for a week crying and feeling sorry for ourselves. Like, we're not victims I said, you're going to use this as an opportunity to show the kids what toughness looks like because you don't have a choice. This is happening. So if you just curl up like in turtle and hope that things go away, no. We have to come up with a plan and fight and come up with, and remember that your mind controls so much of your physical health. And we have to adopt like this attack killer mentality. And she did instantly, and everything went swimmingly. Like in terms of breast cancer, she had the best outcomes, the best case scenarios. But there was a moment where we had to like look ourselves in the mirror together and be like, no, I'm not a victim. Same thing with addiction. I'm like, if you're going through it, if you're going through something like that, at some point, there's no easy answer. You have to like look yourself in the mirror, have a difficult discussion with yourself and realize this is not the life that you deserve. It's not the life you want. Cut the shit, take responsibility for yourself and get on with it. It doesn't get easier. The longer you put it off, the harder it gets. Same thing with feeling sorry for yourself. So anyway, I just want to like give my wife her props because she's tough. And although we were both like not tough for a few days, we eventually pulled it together. And I told her like, the kids are watching everything you do. Show them what you're all about. And I think that really lit a fire under her ass.
Sounds like she's an incredible woman.
Yeah.
Our final question
Yes.
that we like to ask everybody: to design your dream race. So that means we want to know, where in the world is it? How far? And is it running? Or are you putting that bike and swim on the front of it? What's the food and drink at the finish line? And who gives out the award?
I love the Ironman in Hawaii. It's like so perfect in every way. I mean, the wind on the bike, if anyone who knows, you go out to like this place called Hawi where you turn around and it's like up this long, steady climb with, I mean, it would be fine if it was a headwind, but it's a crosswind. And when you're coming down that hill at like 40 miles an hour and the wind's, I mean, every year people get blown off the side of the road. And if you do, it's all lava fields. So it's like coral, stone. It's not a good place to fall down. But
and you're like, that's perfect in every way.
In terms of doing a race that's challenging, like, I mean, I've done my best work at races that are notoriously difficult races, even though it sucks just as much for me as everyone else. I have more toughness than talent. So a flat, warm course is like not good for me. A freezing cold, hilly course, whether it's running or biking, suits me well. But the reason I mention Hawaii is there is nothing like the swim in Hawaii. Aside from the fact 2,000 people are trying to smash you over the head and kicking and clawing and acting like they're in the Olympics. But when you're swimming and you can see the dolphins underneath and turtles, it's just like paradise. And I do love riding my bike. So Hawaii is pretty close to like as good as it gets. That run, it's funny. People are always like, man, the run was so hot. I'm like, yeah, it's in Hawaii. The run starts, by the time you get on the run, it's usually between like noon and 3 p.m. It's friggin' the hottest point of the day. There's no shade. There's rolling hills. And then you're out in the energy lab in like a coral field, a lava field, and just burning up. But that was a real test of will. So Hawaii was awesome. It's so hard because I loved running in Tokyo. It's such a unique place.
So is the answer Ironman in Kona?
Yeah.
No need to change it.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's the perfect race. And the fact that you have to qualify, and it's very hard. I think that it's much harder to qualify for Kona than it is to run the Boston Marathon. That's not a knock or anything against anyone. I'm just telling you the effort that I put in to get into Kona. Not to mention when you get there, you've got to deal with the bike and the tires. And there are so many things to navigate in Ironman. It's crazy. Your wetsuit, your goggles. Oh, my goggles fell off. My bike got a flat tire. My running shoe fell off. Like, there's so many things to worry about there. But I like that part because it allows you, if you're diligent, to have advantages over people that aren't as focused and diligent.
It's also like more challenges to overcome. And if that's your strength.
Yeah, it takes a lot of effort to get to and then race an Ironman. And it's all day. Yeah. But in terms of food at the finish line, I love cheeseburgers and pizza. For a long time, I used to, every time I would finish a marathon or an Ironman, and by the way, 99% of all the races I've done, I go by myself. Because my wife's come to some of them, and she's like, this is the most selfish endeavor ever. I don't want to be around you, especially the week before the race. And I'm like, you know what? That's a great idea. This is business, and you don't come on work trips with me, so you should probably not come. So sometimes they'd come to Hawaii at the day of the race or after, and then we'd spend a week where then I'm relaxed. But what I love to do normally is go back to the room, order pizza from whatever place delivers, or like 2 cheeseburgers from room service, and just gorge.
I think
And,
you deserve that.
and Diet Coke, which is my nemesis.
So the final one, who's giving you the medal at the finish line?
Probably my wife and my kids. Like,
I knew you were going to say
one
that
of the
when I
things
asked.
that has been nice about some of the things that I've done and having my own podcast is I've been incredibly fortunate in my life, and I know that. And I have some of the coolest friends on earth. Like, I'm very good friends with Joe Rogan. The Rock left me a voice memo the other day. I have some really cool friends that Andrew Huberman wrote the freaking cover, the blurb on the cover of my book. Rich Roll, Reggie Miller, who's like a legendary basketball player, Dustin Poirier, the UFC former champion. Like, these people are my friends. Like, I just can't believe it. So, when you meet all these people, you realize we're all the same. They're just really good at what they do. It'd be like, same thing.
Yeah, I agree completely. I have a very strange and privileged and brilliantly lucky life. Get to talk to Anya a lot. I get to talk to Olympians, all these crazy people that a lot of people would love to meet once in their wildest dreams, but they all become normal. And the most important conversations are those with your best friends and your family.
But I think of you the same way I think of these people. It's like you've achieved in your profession what they've achieved. There's just not a crowd of people standing around while you like work on coding or whatever you do at Runna, cheering you like, go, you did it. And then seeing the transaction close with Strava and be like, yes, he got the gold. But I think of business leaders like that because I know from working in finance how hard it is to do what you did.
Exactly. And I think that your wife has been your rock through that, which is why you've been able to do so many hard things and overcome addiction. And to some extent, girlfriend over the years has also been the reason why I keep going when it sucks.
Yeah.
So no, definitely a very valuable through line. But this has been a amazing and fascinating conversation, and one I can relate to in many ways, other than the drug addiction.
Good for you. You're not missing anything.
And hopefully that will stay that way for a lifetime. But thank you so much for joining us. And if anyone would like to learn more about what is a roller coaster and a story of a lifetime, please go and find Ken's book, and we'll link it in the description below.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate you guys, and I love being in the UK. I love the British people. I loved my time here, and Anya, I hope you smash the half marathon next weekend. I wish I could be there to watch.
Thank you very much. Before you go, we've got something very exciting to share. We have launched our limited edition Lululemon Runner collection, Your Best Yet.
It's a 10-piece London capsule built for every runner, for every mile, from those training miles through to race day. Designed for both men and women, it performs both on the run and for long after you've finished.
It's available now in the Lululemon London Regent Street store or online in the US and UK.
It's a limited drop, so when it's gone, it's gone.